Hey guys, today we're going to work in our science journals. You may have set it up last week, and if you didn't, that's okay. We're going to do it right now. If you did, that's also okay. You can just skip over the pages you've already written in to add your tools. They don't have to be on a specific page, but we do want them in the front of the journal. Okay, so find your journal, a blank one. Have your pencils, crayons or colored pencils, and marker maybe, if you have it, for marking the front. And you're going to label this science journal and put your name on it. We want our names on them for when we come back to school. You can turn them in and not get them confused with anyone else's. So even though you're home right now, make sure you put your name on there for us so we're ready to go. This video is one you might want to pause from time to time so that you can get all the information down, because there's a lot of information and we want it in our journals so that we can look back any time and know exactly what we're talking about. So once your name and your label of Science Journal is on, we'll get started. Our science tools. These are tools we as scientists use to help collect information and data. You guys are all scientists this year, so these are the tools we're going to use. Plus, I know you guys can come up with some more after you learn about these. We use tools to help us observe, describe, compare, measure, and communicate or share the information with others. Our first is a thermometer. You guys all have seen thermometers before, and they come in different shapes and sizes. And now we see the electronic ones people use to make sure they're healthy. But these are the kind we use mostly in science. A regular thermometer in Celsius or Fahrenheit, two different ways of measuring heat or cold. So a thermometer measures temperatures, and it can tell you how hot or cold something is. So on the second page, you want to skip one, and on the next page, you're going to write thermometer, T-H-E-R-M-O-M-E-T-E-R, thermometer. And you can pause it here so that you can write that out correctly. I want you to sketch a little picture of a thermometer and then write down what you would use it for. Think of something you would want to measure hot or cold. So pause here and get that down, and then we'll move on to our next tool. Next is a graduated cylinder. Graduated cylinder is a narrow tool used to measure the volume of a liquid. So this we use for measuring liquid. Water, milk, juice, anything like that, even hand sanitizer. So this one goes to 100 milliliters. It's not particularly large, but you can have really big ones and you can have really small ones. It depends on what you're measuring. So on the next page, you're going to write graduated cylinder, G-R-A-D-U-A-T-E-D C-Y-L-I-N-D-E-R, graduated cylinder. And then sketch a little drawing of one and write down what you would measure. What kind of liquid would you measure, or why? So you can pause it to make sure you have all the information down for graduated cylinder. Next, very similar, is a measuring cup. Measuring cup. You've probably seen this. I know some of you cook, some of you are bakers, so you've even used it. The measuring cup is used to measure liquids. It measures liquids in units called milliliters, cups, and ounces. And it can also be used for cooking. So measuring cup, M-E-A-S-U-R-I-N-G-C-U-P, measuring cup. You can pause here to make sure you get that down correctly, draw your little picture, and tell me what you, my little scientist, would use a measuring cup for. Next is a microscope. This is what we think of when we think of science, isn't it? For sure with me. Anytime I see that, I think science. Our microscope is used to view very small objects by making them look larger. Microscope. M-I-C-R-O-S-C-O-P-E. Microscope. Pause here. Give me a nice drawing of a microscope. Make it as detailed as you'd like. And then think about what you're going to use a microscope for, because you will get to use them this year. What do you want to see up close that's very, very small? I bet I'm going to hear some awesome ideas for our microscope use. Next up is our stopwatch. A stopwatch measures time in seconds and sometimes minutes. Stopwatch. So this one has seconds, tenths of seconds, and even hundredths of seconds. Stopwatch. So those of you who are my little runners and my little swimmers, we use our stopwatch to measure how fast we are, but we also use it in science to figure out how long it takes for something to happen. That's a measurable that we want to keep track of. Stopwatch. S-T-O-P-W-A-T-C-H. You see that compound word? Stop and watch. Stopwatch. Next, we have ruler or measuring tape. These are two different things, but they do the same job. Rulers and measuring tape are used to measure the height, length, or width of something. And width is how wide something is around. Like if we want to measure our own waist for a new pair of pants, or how wide our dog is if we're getting it a new collar or a new harness. So width, we'd want to measure around something. So that would be better for a measuring tape because you can wrap it, whereas our ruler is straight. So ruler, R-U-L-E-R, ruler, or measuring tape, M-E-A-S-U-R-I-N-G, tape, T-A-P-E. Pause it here, give me a sketch of those, and then what you would use it for. And you're doing science. Pan balance. Pan balance. The other word we talked about last week for this is a scale. That's kind of what we're used to because that measures weight. We weigh ourselves at the doctor. But a pan balance like this is more accurate, and it's used to measure mass, how much matter is in something. And we've talked a little bit about how mass and weight are related but somewhat different. So we want to make sure we use the word mass when we use our pan balance. We're figuring out how much matter is in something. This is a intricate drawing, so I'll give you some time on this one, but draw me a nice pan balance. P-A-N-B-A-L-A-N-C-E. And then tell me what you might put in here. What are you going to weigh? What are you going to figure out how much mass is in something? I know I'll hear some awesome ideas. Magnifying glass or hand lens. Magnifying glass or a hand lens. These help you see something in more detail. It makes little things look big. So it's very similar to our microscope, but it's not as powerful. So this would be good for looking at something that you can already see pretty well, but you want to get detail, like maybe a bug. Whereas a microscope would be things that you might not even be able to see without help, like a germ or a cell. So a magnifying glass helps us see things larger and in more detail. Magnifying, M-A-G-N-I-F-Y-I-N-G, glass, G-L-A-S-S, magnifying glass. Notebook and pencil, I bet you're thinking, how's that a science tool? Well, it is a science tool, just like our journal, because we need to write down our observations or our experiments or our data so that we can share it with others. Because if we don't write it down, if we don't record it, we might lose it. Always got to write it down. And this one's cool. It says, will it sink or float? And that's a fun experiment we could do at home. You make your prediction, you put it in the water, and you see if it sinks or floats. So we use our notebook and pencil to record our observations and share with others. Notebook, N-O-T-E-B-O-O-K, another good compound word. And pencil, P-E-N-C-I-L. We also wear tools or protective gear to help keep us safe when we're working in science lab or doing science at home, such as goggles to protect our eyes, gloves to protect our hands, a lab coat to protect our clothes and our body, good shoes, maybe even steel-toed shoes if you're working with heavy materials. And we all have to wear masks now anyway, but masks are helpful in science if you're working with chemicals. So these are things to keep us safe when we're working in science. You always want to protect yourself. This is our little science tools quiz. So pause here, and on the next page in your journal, number 1 through 8, and then identify what number 1 is, all the way through number 8 down at the bottom. And your answers are down here to help you with spelling. We've got thermometer, ruler, magnet, balance scale, microscope, tweezers, measuring tape, and magnifying lens. So I am going to help you a little bit on this one because we didn't cover tweezers, but that would be used to pick up small things and help us put them into our microscope or under our hand lens to see better. So number 4 here is tweezers, so I'll give you that one. Where you numbered number 4, write tweezers, T-W-E-E-Z-E-R-S. So go ahead and pause here and answer these 8 right in your journal. And remember, there are many more tools we use as scientists. I want you to look around your house, look around your work area, think about school, think about maybe your garage, or if your dad or mom has a workbench, or even your kitchen area. What other tools might you use? I'd love to hear your suggestions. Awesome job, you guys. I can't wait to see these great journals. Come back to our meeting and we'll talk about it now.